everyone, this is Marta Bengaloj from Pakistan, and you're watching my YouTube channel Insani Itihad, which aims to invoke a little bit of humanity in all of us through awareness and understanding. So yesterday I watched this amazing video where two women were talking about the value of money and why the Jewish people actually see money as a value, as of value, and why do and how do they have a lot of sustenance or wealth or money. And it came to my mind to discuss a very hot topic, especially in the Muslim world and especially in the Pakistani Muslim conspiracy, anti-Semitic sort of context, where all the young Muslims who are very young Muslim Pakistanis who are very passionate about the Palestinian rights usually tend to refer to this particular family and their amount of resources and accumulated wealth that they have. And I am talking about none other than the Rothschild family. There are many conspiracy theories around the Rothschild family here in Pakistan, particularly. So this is the family who sort of controls all the banking system of the world, introduced the banking system in the ancient, not Asian actually, in the monarchy world of Europe. And they are out there to accumulate and control all the resources of all the people, not just Muslims, but Christians and everybody, the entire world. And then to do that, they also control the media, they control the governments, they control this and that. And these are the families who actually have founded secret societies like Illuminatis and stuff, and they give human sacrifices, oh my God, whatnot and whatnot. So all the evil is basically the word Rothschild is nothing but a sheer source of evil, evilness, and there's nothing good about it. So I wanted to see if there is a truth to it. Yeah, maybe out of curiosity, when I was before even attending the Muslim Church conference. So yeah, it's an affluent family, and it has been a very it has been involved in trading and doing business since forever, and it has good relationship with all the dukes and princesses and all those people who are actually well connected in the government, in the monarchy world basically. And they traded in different countries. They developed ports, and all the businesses, and usually they used to work under the supervision or the hand of the monarchs, whether the Dutch emperors or the British or the French or whoever, the Austrian emperors. So their basic role was to serve these monarchies and help these monarchies, these princes, these dukes, serve their subjects, their people in a better way, to provide economic activity and stability. This family and bunch of other famous Jewish families in Europe who were close to the monarchs and the elites of Europe had this amazing inherent quality given to them by Hashem to create resources, to create ideas, out of the box thinking. I was reading this case study of an Asian family, which I'm forgetting their name. They made the shoe factory, the luxurious shoe factory, and this idea of making luxurious, comfortable and good shoes for the monarchs and for the elites was a Jewish idea, and then they made a factory, and they were, the exclusive shoes. Of course, then there was another family who would make handmade shoes. So, these business ideas, these creative ideas were actually somewhat a God gift to the Jewish people, and they have been trend setting in all the historical, you know, throughout the history. They have been this, innovative and creative in terms of creating new products, and then definitely benefiting from that, and creating wealth out of it. Rothschild family, if we just pick up for the sake of making this video very very short, that do they actually control the business? Do they actually created the banking system, and do they control all the banks? Now, what's wrong with the? Let's understand what is the banking system. In the ancient world, when people who have owned large amount of lands, they would have peasants work their fields, and they would give them a small amount of produce or money to sustain, and the landowner would get the major share of all the wealth by selling the produce, or whatever, and the ownership of the land is with that. So the dukes, the princes, the elites would be rich generationally, all their generations, all their lives. But these peasants would be peasant all their lives. So kings would be kings, and subjects would be subjects for eternity, for their generations. In comes this amazing idea by the Rothschild family, who all of us hate very much: a banking system. Let's accumulate all the wealth in this institution. It's called the bank. It has all the money. The king doesn't have the money. The duke doesn't have the money. The peasant doesn't have the money. All the money is with the bank, this institution. And whoever needs money can just go to the bank, give something as a as a leverage, or as a security deposit, like a loan, like a ownership of the land, or any valuable thing, gold, whatever, and get some cash. Get some cash for food, get some cash to start a new business, to buy a new house, to marry off their children, personal loan, whatever. Get a loan, give a security, and then set an amount of interest. When you pay back that money, you're not just paying back the exact amount that you borrowed, but a little, extra to pay off the bank, to helping you in need. Now, the whole concept is that, when these kings and dukes, they needed to go to wars. For example, the kings of England and France, they needed to colonize other, countries. They needed finances. They needed money. What they do is that they put on heavy taxes on the peasants, and said, the peasants and the dukes, they have to pay taxes so that they would fund our expeditions to go colonize another country, or fund our war, or whatever. So the people used to pay, and they would get the heat of taxation and all that. And then in the Muslim era, there was this demi-tax for the non-Muslims, so Christians and both Jews and the pagans all suffered from that tax of funding a nation. Now, here was a bank where, a king can put his surplus amount of money into this bank. A peasant can also put in his savings and his money into the bank. And then that bank would give the money to where somebody who needs it for expansion of their business, or buying a new land, or even funding a war. And then that entity who borrows the money would pay back that money, and also interest. So a person who gives their money, their resources, extra resources, or surplus resources of money that they can't use, they give it to the bank. So the bank would put them onto a use by letting others have that money and use it for their other economic activities, and then pay back with an interest. So the person who puts his surplus resource or extra money into the bank gets there is an incentive for that person, and the person who borrows from the bank also has this incentive that he is not going to be bullied by a duke's soldier or king's soldier, or he would not be bothered. There is a time frame in which he has to pay back and a set amount of interest that he has to pay back. So there is a freedom of borrowing. There is a freedom of putting your money that you are not using and is just lying there in your palace to work, to circulate it. So a wonderful idea to circulate the resource of money, to have better opportunities and allow people, not just kings and dukes and rich and elite people, but any ordinary person to borrow a small amount of money and start a business, stand on their own feet. And now if we see the role of banks, where most of the working class people in the US and in Europe, they take mortgages, they take bank loans to buy houses, to buy cars, to fund for their for their life, for major investments in their lives, whether it means buying an entire solar system for their house to have an energy sufficient house, or buying a very expensive Tesla to protect the environment, or what. And even Elon Musk borrows from the bank. If there were no banks, there wouldn't have been any SpaceX or Tesla, because where would they get millions of dollars to only dukes and kings would have all the money and all the resources. What about the general people? So are we hating the Rothschild family for creating this banking system where everybody can use the money creatively to be financially independent and have this amazing opportunity to create economic activities? Then again, after the World War II, and this is stressed a lot by the pseudo-journalists and intellectuals in Pakistan, especially I would like to mention Auria Makbul Jan and Dr. Shahid Masood. Yeah, Dr. Shahid made this. He is the most anti-Semitic. Auria Makbul Jan and Dr. Shahid Masood is the most anti-Semitic journalists, pseudo-intellectuals of Pakistan. Write those names and be careful. Anyway, there was this journalist, Ahmad Qureshi. He used to be a super duper anti-Semite, but he visited Israel recently, and not just visited Israel, but he met the president of Israel as well, ironically. But anyway, we're not going to go there. So they used to say that these Rothschild families and all bunch of other European hi-fi, wealthy, rich Jewish families actually purchased all these lands in Eretz Israel and developed Tel Aviv and all those cities in Israel, and actually re-established all those Jewish victims of Holocaust in Israel, and it was out of this agenda and everything. Well, we all know that there is this Islamic aid, which where all these Arab princes and sheikhs and all these Muslim people generally donate, and then where those funds probably go to help in the Syrian war victims or Iraqi war victims or whatever, but majority of that chunk goes into the terror financing Hamas, financing Hezbollah, and all those terrorists, and Taliban and ISIS and whatnot, and Al-Qaeda. That's okay. But if a Jewish family, wealthy, or bunch of Jewish wealthy families, helped out Holocaust victims who lost their families, entire families, their livelihoods. They had no one. And these families decided that why should non-Jews help these Jewish families who are in need? Why can't we step up and help our brothers? And all of a sudden they become this evil, people. Yeah, they're big hotels and big hi-fi expensive luxury real estate in Tel Aviv and Netanyahu, majorly in Tel Aviv, and yeah, in Tel Aviv or maybe in Netanyahu also, that the Rothschild real estate companies or real estate group of companies have established and made. But what's wrong with that? I mean, if Amar builders of UAE can build buildings in Kashmir, Indian managed Kashmir, and Pakistan's coastal city of Karachi, they have huge real estate projects, the Amar builders of UAE. That's okay because they are Muslim and they are Arabs. If the Pakistani real estate tycoon builds, housing societies in developed cities like Bahria town, Pakistan, or Lahore, or anywhere, he is fine. He is, because he's Muslim and he's a Pakistani. So, Malak Riaz is all good. Amar builders are all good, and all those people are good. But if a Jewish family invests in real estate, and they're investing in US, say US, Europe, or in Israel, not necessarily investing in Muslim countries, and even then they are like evil. So empowering another Jewish brother happens to be a parameter for evilness. And it was so hurtful that one of the podcasts that Rabbi Miles Friedman actually speaks on, there was this Jewish woman who was saying that these Rothschild, is that money good? Because her context was that in a context that they're not very religious. They usually do business with non-Jewish people, and they're filthy rich, and they keep on accumulating wealth, keep on getting richer and richer and richer. And is this hunger for more and more wealth actually Jewish? I thought that we Muslims and these Christian anti-Semites only hate the Rothschild, but here was a Jewish woman who was saying that is it actually good to have this amount of wealth? Doesn't it corrupt? And Rabbi Mans Friedman gave a very mature and sensible and stable answer that this is a good use of money. They're using it very sensibly. They're being responsible. And they created a system for everyone. They didn't create a banking system. Banking system doesn't support the only the elites or only the rich. Yes, of course, a industrialist who wants to or who wants to expand his industry and make a bigger complex or multiply his or optimize his production would need a huge amount of loan as compared to somebody who wants to buy a car to get a personal loan. So it's something that it's just natural. But seeing that industrialists get more benefits out of the banking system than a average person, I think it's pretty unfair. Elon Musk was an average person and he got a lot of money out of it. He had his brain, he had his ideas, and the banks actually funded his idea. Same goes with Apple, same goes with all those technologies, those young entrepreneurs, those startup nation. How did Israel become a startup nation? Because of the banking system. That there was this, if you have a good idea, there is a resource to make it a reality, and go ahead, experiment on that, do it. And if you succeed, pay it back. If you don't succeed, at least pay the amount you have borrowed, and you don't necessarily have to pay the interest. So having said that, I mean, we do not criticize the British royal family for colonializing the entire world. We don't criticize the French monarchy or all those dukes who have done hideous and terrible things. The Dutch, royal family, or the royal families of these Muslim countries. We don't criticize them. They have done more heinous crime than the Rothschild family. Just because Rothschild family helped Jews who were the victims of Holocaust, established them in Israel, provided them funds when it was needed. They donate to Israel for the poor, for helping out their own Jewish brethren. All of a sudden they are the evil people and they are the Illuminati and they are the Satans and this and that. I think we need to be fair when we evaluate people or we judge people. Something which is good for us as Muslims or as Christians or as kings and queens and dukes and elites, it should also be good and fair enoughly good and right for somebody who belongs to a Jewish family. And it's just so painful to see the Rothschild family has to prove and had been proving that they are not Jewish, they are not radically Jewish, and they are very open to non-Jewish people, and that's why they had very good relationship with the non-Jewish people. I think Paris Hilton's sister is married to one of the Rothschild person. That I know. So that also, but then again, these choices and these friendships and these marriages make them less Jewish. And then if you ask the non-Jews, they would say they are Jewish because they help Israel and help Jewish people more than they help the non-Jews and Gentiles. So I think we need to be very, very fair in our evaluation. Let's not just judge people. I just wonder those kids who are born into these families, these elite Jewish families. Just imagine how would a teenager, 11-year-old, 12-year-old, 13-year-old person who is born into it also. It's not their choice to be born in that family, but how must they feel when they know that the entire world actually despises them and hates them for just being wealthy. It's not, they are just born into that family. They have nothing, they have nothing, they have no control over the choices their ancestor made or their parents made or their grandparents made, but they're just born into this family, and it's a pretty wealthy family, and the world hates them for that, or the world judges them more stringently than any other person. And in the end, I would just like to say the Rothschild family doesn't has the family has nothing to do with me, or has not paid. Please don't call me. You have already said I'm delusional, I'm crazy, I'm a witch, and I have satanic vibes. But please don't say I'm part of the Illuminati or the Rothschild has paid me. They don't even know. And to be very honest, I do not want to be associated even remotely with such families or such people. Not that I judge them or hate them. Instead, I have enough hate for myself from the people. And Baruch Hashem, I am not that wealthy. I'm a middle class. Whatever money I have, I'm pretty much happy with that. And whatever amount of hate I have, I'm also content with that hate and that wealth. I don't want an extra, I would be the last person associating myself with such families or such Rothschilds. They don't know me, I don't know them. I have nothing to do with that, and I hopefully in the future I don't have anything to do with them, because neither I want this amount of wealth or this amount of hate. No, thank you. I want to be peaceful and happy with myself and with the small life that I have, with little bit of hate, actually a lot of hate, and a little bit of happiness. And yeah, I like that. So they have not paid me. This is not a paid promotion, but they're also human. No matter somebody is a billionaire, trillionaire, whatever, all the money in the world, at the end of the day, the other person is also human. at least we should be able to see the other person, whether that person is extremely rich or extremely poor. In the end of the day, we're all human. At least that humanity that we need to understand. We need to see others as humans first. Of course, you're rich. Baruch Hashem, you're not rich, you're very poor. Feel sorry for you and wish for you to that your life changes, and encourage and help out. So in the end of the day, rich or poor, we're humans, and humans are capable of transforming from rich to poor, and poor to rich also. So let's not just judge and label people, an entire family at least. So I'm going to put this link of two ladies talking about the value of money. Do watch it. It's a good video and good points that these ladies have raised. So thank you very much.